Hello, I'm your host, Leonard Duncan. Welcome to a new episode of ATV-TALK and Motorsports Podcast. Please join us every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We bring you interviews with industry professionals, live events, live news about the motorsports industry in every episode. Enjoy the show. Whether we are out riding with our friends and family or racing in extreme environments, we all need good tires. That's why I recommend GBC Power Sports Tires, a division of Greenball Corp. Their products, which include XC Master, Mini Master, and Groundbuster 3, are what leading professionals in the ATV-UTV industry are using. You can get your tires at greenballtires.com or find them on Instagram as GBC Tires for further inquiries. Are you looking for the best suspension technology for your sport ATV? Look no further than Elka Suspension, the industry leader in sport ATV suspension technology. With championship wins in prestigious events such as the Dakar Rally, Score, Best in the Desert, ATV MX, Cross Country, and Works, Elka Suspension has established itself as the go-to choice for athletes and enthusiasts alike. But they don't just stop at ATVs. They're constantly expanding into new markets, including UTVs, trucks, SUVs, pit bikes, snowmobiles, and more. Their commitment to innovation and quality means they're always looking to improve and adapt so you can enjoy a smooth ride wherever you go. Want to learn more about what Elka Suspension can do for you? Visit their website at elkasuspension.com or give them a call at 450-655-4855. They will always be happy to answer your questions and help you find the perfect suspension solution for your needs. Welcome to DBR Racing Products, the leader in 3D modeling and innovations. Since 2015, they have been revolutionizing the industry, starting with their groundbreaking YFZ 450R battery boxes. But they didn't stop there. They have continued to push the boundaries, constantly improving their design with each new version. In 2018, they introduced the game-changing Vortex EXO cage, specifically designed to securely hold the Vortex ECU in a safe and sturdy location. This breakthrough innovation ensures your ECU stays protected even in the toughest racing conditions. At DBR, they understand that every detail matters. That's why they also offer an array of essential products to enhance your racing experience. Their spark plug hold downs keep your engine firing at peak performance, while their LTR breather boxes ensure optimal ventilation for your machine. Their LT250 engine skid plates are a must-have for those seeking unmatched protection. Engineered to shield your engine from impacts and rough terrain, they provide the ultimate defense for your ATV. But that's not all. They've developed ProPeg mounts that allow you to use TRX 450R Nerf bars, giving you greater control and maneuverability on the track. To explore their full range of innovative products and learn more about DBR Racing, visit their website at www.dbratv.com. You can also reach them directly at 507-828-1233. Their knowledgeable team is ready to assist you with any questions or inquiries. DBR Racing Products, where innovation meets performance. Unleash the power within you. Leon Spinden III, how are you, brother? Welcome back to ATV Talk, man.
Thank you for having me back, Leonard. How are you doing?
Well, you know, Jeremy was slipping me some bills to make that happen for you. Just so you know. Oh, no, I'm kidding. Yeah. No, I'm totally kidding. No, I always enjoy the conversations with you. I know we just had a pre-conversation about another topic that, you know, was only 5 minutes and it lasted almost an hour.
Almost. Hey, it's what happens.
Right. You know, last time we talked, we touched over your developmental career and we really just hit some highlights, and we never really, I would say, dug deep into some of the portions of your career that got you where you are. I know that you were with Root River Racing, and that's
Yep.
kind of your first gig as a on the mat mechanic, race mechanic. Before Root River, how much mechanic work were you doing for other people, or was it just for yourself at that point?
I was actually doing a decent amount before that as well. Obviously I had a lot of my own four-wheelers that I was working on, rebuilding them. My first actual quad build would have been my 2003 Suzuki Z400. Did a full frame up rebuild on that, kind of turned into a motocross bike, long travel suspension, all that good stuff. But otherwise, yeah, on the side, when I wasn't working at the dealership, I had a lot of local motocross and quad guys coming and asking me like, hey, can you do the top end on my bike? Can you, I just bought this Roach 250 or this Roach TRX 450R. Can you go through it and see what it needs? And then, of course, I had a bunch of close buddies that rode as well. Like about 5 guys that I grew up with in my hometown, they all kind of rode with me. And for the most part, they all had either bikes or quads. So, we'd get together and ride all the time on the weekends. And then every once in a while, we'd, just dedicate a day of, okay, we're going to wash and Leon's going to go through all the bikes and quads today. And then we're going to grill out and hang out for the day. So we would do that every once in a while as well. So I was doing a lot of wrenching, and that's kind of what got me in with the whole Root River thing as well, is just kind of hanging out with those guys, selling them parts, of course, during the week, but then hanging out on the weekends, going riding with them every once in a while. And then on my days off, I would just go in there, help them out. And I think one of the biggest things that really got my name and skill in with Rich Gillette, who owned Root River, was everybody else was down in Texas doing like winter training essentially. And Rich was still in Minnesota, Wisconsin. And I asked one day, I text Rich, I'm like, hey, I'm around. I got nothing going on. It's Monday, so I'm not working. If you're going to be around, I can stop by the shop and do some stuff. He's like, yeah, come on by. There's at the time, Root River Racing had a Z400 that was part of the team. And he's like, this thing needs to be torn down so it can be rebuilt. So you want to come and start on that? And within a few hours, I had that thing completely stripped, all the parts torn, everything organized, ready to go. And, he went out for like lunch or something, comes back and I'm done. He's like, wow. Okay, well, I guess that's it. I wasn't expecting you to be done today. So that was kind of my thing with to kind of really make him notice and see me for a mechanic instead of just the dude that was hanging around and helping every once in a while. So yeah, I was doing quite a bit of wrenching before I actually became a Root River Racing mechanic.
You talked in the earlier time when I sat with you that you had some mechanical input from your family. And where did you come up with the ability to work on engines without proper schooling? Or let me put it to you this way, without a mentor that worked on that kind of machine. It wasn't a car. It was a
right.
I mean, we all know that their basics are similar, but they're not.
Right, exactly. Obviously, all your internal combustion engines, in theory, work the same. So yeah, obviously, when I was a toddler, I was helping my dad work on cars and trucks. But then the thing that really got me to figure out the small engine portion of things, power sports engines, was when I bought my first four-wheeler, which was a $30 scrap pile. It needed a top end done. And so my dad and I tore it apart. It needed a piston and rings, the cylinder needed cleaned up. It needed valve seals. The valves needed cleaned up. And so actually a lot of the my initial service information that I got for that machine came from a buddy of my dad's, who is actually an uncle of one of my best friends growing up as well. He was Brian Carlsbrotten is his name. He was a local Minnesota dirt bike racer from back of the day, and he works on dirt bikes on the side. Actually, he still works on dirt bikes on the side to this day. And he diehard Honda guy, and he was able to get some of the service specs and walk me through some of the things I needed to do and watch out for. But otherwise, besides that information that he spoke to us, it was basically tear it apart, remember how it came apart, it goes back together with the new parts. Here are the torque specs you need. And some of the stuff, I'm not going to lie, every once in a while, some of it was a little trial and error. It came apart this way, it went back together this way. Well, now it doesn't turn over properly. What did I do wrong? So sometimes it'd be taking it back apart. And then mental note, don't do that again. So I think most people have had that at some point of, you don't pick up a wrench for the first time and wield it with all this power. We're all human. You make mistakes, especially when you're learning this stuff.
Right. And that's trial and error is a great way to learn a lot of things, especially when it's the dollar is coming out of your pocket to fix it and break it.
Right. And then, after my TRX 200 saga, I bought my blaster, and that one was, you're kind of doing top ends on that thing all the time anyways, because this is back in the day when you're just a high school kid in the summertime. I was milking cows in the morning. So my buddies and I had all afternoon, evening, night to ride four-wheelers. So this blaster's getting tons and tons of hours put on it all day. Of course, you're going to go through a top end every couple of weeks in it. And so, tearing that apart. And then I also had, I should say my dad had an old CR250 Elsnor engine that it really wasn't worth rebuilding, but it was there. So I used to take that apart every once in a while, put it back together. I will admit that, like I said, it wasn't really worth rebuilding, but I made it worse because some of your trial and error stuff was done on that. And, I cracked some cases. I cracked a clutch cover, I think, on it. And again, it's one of those things like, don't do that again, because it's going to be very expensive on an engine that you're actually fixing.
Right.
So
that, like I said, that's a great way to learn. When you were learning the mechanical side of it on the motors, did you start playing with your own performance mods, or was it all basic stock stuff?
So obviously with the 200, I didn't really do anything because I was just a learning what's going on. Blaster worlds, of course you're playing with different pipes, you're playing with different, air filter setups, playing with different reeds. When I started thinking I was a real big hot shot, I started doing some research. I actually did start porting a cylinder for one of those. And then again, when I rebuilt my Z400, I didn't do much on that, but I just kind of cleaned the ports up on it a little bit. But again, I didn't have all of the knowledge that I have now, but I had enough knowledge to be dangerous. And that's where, like on the Z, I'm like, I'm just going to clean up the casting marks and some of that, but I'm not going to go too far because I don't want to mess this thing up. I'm a high schooler on a high school, farmhand budget. I can't buy a new head for this thing if I mess it up. So it's just go a little bit and see how it was. And, butt dyno, of course, told you it ran a little bit better. Did it really do much? I can't really tell you because that head's been professionally ported by now, but I did play around a little bit of stuff here and there.
Well, that's how you learn, right?
Right.
That and I think that experimentation is everything. I've had the opportunity to learn how to port, but I have never had the desire.
Yeah.
Solely due to the fact that it's a miserable job. You know,
Right. Right.
when I watch my brother Lauren do it, he's covered in aluminum shavings. He's
Right.
wearing a respirator, and now he wears a respirator. Before he didn't. But
Yeah.
I remember seeing his hands, and the aluminum slivers would be burrowed into his fingers, and
Yeah.
you'd be digging the aluminum out. And
Mhm.
I don't know how he did it, because I
Yeah.
get an aluminum sliver in my hand now, and I'm just that's that's all I can focus on. Got to get that out. Got to get it out. Got to do that.
Well, yeah, I mean, you'll forget about it until you hit it just right, and like, oh yeah, that's still in there, and then you dig at it for another half hour, you give up, hit it again. Yeah, I feel your pain there. And actually, just thinking about it, I did actually do a one set of cylinders for a Yamaha phaser that I actually ported for a buddy of mine. He just had a special little project, wanted to do something cool with this 1987, I think it was, Yamaha phaser. He asked me to rebuild the motor and get a little more power out of it. So I looked at it, kind of figured out, and also doing some research online where people said that they could use a little bit of help, and went to town,
And it worked out for
and
you.
it worked out.
That's
So,
freaking pretty cool.
yeah.
And then, and as you got into not only doing your motors, you got into the
Mhm.
chassis modifications as well.
Yep, yep. So of course, being a young kid, reading Dirt Wheels during school, watching ATV on demand videos. I mean, I had especially when I owned my Blaster, Joe's quad builder series on the Blaster, that thing was on repeat. And I know they did one at one point on a KFX 400, and that thing, I would watch that over and over and over again. And I watched their LTR 450 build and just think like, "Ah, one day I'm going to have an LTR 450. It's so cool." And that was like, okay, you gotta widen this thing out. I gotta get an axle. I gotta get some A-arms. I gotta get some shocks. And it wasn't until after MMI actually that I really did a proper long travel suspension on my Z400. And actually it's on it to this day. It's got a set of and they were secondhand used Root River parts, but some roll design A-arms, custom axis shocks. It's got a Lone Star axle. It's kind of it's all mix match, but it was my first motocross build. But before that, it was always, I gotta buy this, I gotta buy this. Most of the time just never happened.
How much do you think that MMI taught you over what you learned in actual real world working on machines?
The biggest thing that I think I picked up from MMI was more of the, not so much how to do stuff, but more so on the, sometimes slow down. Obviously, like I said, it was a little trial and error on some things, but MMI taught me of the service manual has all these specs, has everything, all the information I could use. Slow down a little bit, take some measurements, no, don't just look at it. Yep, we're good to go, slap it in there, but actually measure everything. How is everything looking that way with the numbers that it should be? But then also, before MMI, I would tighten bolts and okay, yep, we're good and tight. Now it's, instead of the German good and tight torque spec, everything has a number. And so it's more so just being a little more professional with everything, being, essentially being a little more anal on everything. Every bolt now gets torqued instead of an ugga dugga or, yep, that's tight enough.
Hey, when you guys were in Pleasure Valley, did you guys
Mhm.
have to do a motor swap?
On my side with JJ, we did not have to do a motor swap. On Max's side, they did. Luckily for us, JJ's first moto was before the rain and his second moto was after the rain. So I had time to prep it, and I've gotten pretty good at my mud prep on the YFZs over the last couple of years, especially last year when almost every moto or weekend we would have to mud prep. So that we were lucky. And I did end up doing top ends on both engines anyways after the weekend, just because some different stuff, but otherwise both, well, the one bike didn't even get ridden, but his pro sport quad, it was healthy as could be when it came off the track.
How I'm not to get off track, but when you talk about JJ having a pro sport bike and a pro am bike, how is it different for him? Are they exactly the same? Are the shocks exactly the same? Or is there some difference that makes it where he has to get used to the other bike when he throws his leg on it?
So JJ, first of all, I'll be honest, he's not that picky to begin with. I think I am pickier than he is when it comes to a lot of stuff. He will just hop on a bike and go. But when it comes to his two race quads and most of his practice quads, because JJ has a fleet of 6 fully built YFZ 450 motocross bikes. And so his 2 race bikes and at least 2 practice bikes, I make identical. Doug Schultz, who does our shocks, he sets his shocks up all the same. And all the spring specs, all the shim stack, he keeps good record of what he does. So every shock is set up the same. I set up the front end, like especially on his race quads. When I get them both built, I set up the front ends side by side, one after another. So I've got the measurements, I've got everything as far as what I am doing, and set them up identical. His controls, I set them up the same. And usually after the first time he'll ride one is when he'll sometimes make little changes, but then I go through and I make that same change on the other bike too. So I do my damnedest to make sure the nets are set the same between the two. As far as I have control, I make both bikes complete twins of each other. I do make subtle little changes. I obviously being, I these bikes probably mean a little bit more to me than most people will, because, when I touch every single component of these ATVs. So I've got names for them. They've all got their own little, and starting a couple of years ago, they all have kind of Halloween or horror movie themed names. Just because the first one that started it, we named Frankenstein because it was just a jumbled mess that we had bought and quick made it work for a practice bike. So after that, they all became like horror or Halloween themed names, but they all get names. They all have little like attitudes, but I will make both bikes will have like 1 or 2 little changes, just so if someone goes, which one is which, I can say, this one has this color sticker here, or this one's got carbon frame guards. This one's got SSI decal frame guards.
Nice.
So, yeah.
So there's always something different, so you know what it is.
Something different, so I can say, go to this bike, and it's got this. If I'm either not there or I'm busy with something else.
That's good that you have a way to tell them different, so that he can ride this machine and not that other machine that doesn't have oil in it.
Exactly. And of course, with our series, when you go through tech nowadays, the AMA gives you a frame sticker. Both frame stickers are different, but I'm not going to say go to bike 5012 instead of 5011. It's go to either Drac or go to Freddy. This one's got this sticker, this one's got that sticker.
Nice. I always called my girls.
Yeah.
Never gave them a name, but they're always, my daughter asked me, why are they always female? And I go, they're just all my girls. They're just all of them.
Yeah. Well, this one kind of started from, like I said, Frankenstein, which is actually it was his A-class championship bike last year, and his primary practice bike this year is Frankie. And otherwise the names have been I'll kind of ask Colton, my son, and Courtney, my wife, of, hey, what should we call this one? So yeah, we've got Frankie, we've got Drac for Dracula, Freddy Krueger, Casper. The Casper had white beadlock rings, was the only reason for that one. And then I forget the new one now. But we got another one too that it's kind of, it doesn't get used as much. So it's the redheaded stepchild. So
What do you think of those hologram graphics?
they'd be a lot cooler to me if everybody did not have them.
I love them.
It's a
I think they're awesome.
They are cool. And I thought, Ian from SSI was trying to get us to do that for this year, that or like the chrome silver and stuff like that. But I was like, I have a feeling that everybody's going to run it this year, and we get to Daytona and everybody's got holographic graphics. I'm glad we kept it basic, but I like the way our graphics turned out on the bikes.
Oh, they look good. They look good. Not a huge fan of the black plastic, but your team colors are your team colors.
Right. I like the black plastic just because, like last year when we were at Phoenix Racing and in 2022, we were doing a different theme for every race. So I was like, all right, instead of having to try to run this plastic and the graphics might not match, run all black plastic. So it doesn't matter if we're running yellow graphics, black graphics, whatever, the background is always going to be a nice neutral color.
Right. I get it. I totally get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just, you see some of those hologram stuff and the bikes just gives them a glimmer to them that makes them look even better than they do with the traditional stuff.
Right. They definitely pop. That's for sure.
Yeah, I like it. I haven't done a set yet, but I probably will at some point just because I like them. My brother probably doesn't like them all.
Well, I mean, you've seen my bikes, so I like to kind of stand out a little bit, but
right.
I also don't think that it will look good with my color choice personally.
It might if you get the right. They could set it up to look good with your color choice.
Could. Right, right.
I mean, I just was thinking you're colorblind myself, but that's okay. No, your bikes are beautiful, and I just wanted to see if you had what your thought was about those graphics, because Bryce Ford's machines look pretty awesome, and so everybody's.
Oh, for sure. Definitely. And it doesn't, like, I know obviously Ian's holographic stuff looks good. Ernie from FTR is doing the holographic as well, and his look really good as well. So I mean, it's everybody that's doing it is doing it well. Actually, another graphic company that's doing it, 75 Designs, my buddy Neil Larson, I just saw his new graphics, and his look really sweet on a pretty much all blue background with the holographic, and that thing pops pretty cool.
Yeah, JSR's doing them too out here on the west.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they're doing some of that stuff too, and I get to see a bunch of their different looks. They're not the same as they are on the other side. I think they purposely try to make them look different, which I would if I was.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm not going to make graphics anytime soon. So.
Right.
We talk about development and things like that, and we talk about naming our machines. Everybody has that one machine that they'll never forget. No matter what you do, that's your machine. That's when you're 70 years old and you're talking to your great grandkids, that's the machine you're going to talk about. Have you built that machine yet?
I believe I have. And I think I told you this on the last episode. There's only one four-wheeler I've ever owned that I actually got rid of. And that was a carb YFZ that I never even rode. I got on a package deal and I turned around and I flipped it. But otherwise, every single four-wheeler that I've owned is either still personally mine or still in the fleet, including my first four-wheeler that I later gave to my dad. But I think that one that's always going to be that special part of my heart is going to be my current quad, which is my 2013 YFZ 450R. The main thing is with that quad, it's the first brand new four-wheeler I ever bought. And when I got it, I was working at Two Brothers Power Sports, which Honda Yamaha BRP dealer. I was, a parts guy there. It came in on my lunch break. I pulled it out of the crate. I set it up. I did the PDI checklist on it. I did everything on that quad. So with the exception of maybe somebody helping me put a tire on or something like that, I'm the only person that's ever touched that four-wheeler with a wrench. And it's kind of it's my baby. It's always going to be my baby. It's been there with me for 10 years now. And I know in early April, I made a little post about it. On the day that I signed the paperwork on that four-wheeler, I made a 10-year post about it on social media. That's going to be that four-wheeler that's always got a piece of my heart.
I think you did get into it a little bit, and I think that's pretty awesome. As a builder, when you roll that machine out the door the first time, or the first time you fire it off in the shop, there's always a feeling you get when you're getting ready to go to an event on how that machine responds. Do you have those same things happen in your world?
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, when the first time this machine is done and you step back and you look at it, and it's just like, it puts an awe in your just, I'm almost speechless a lot of times when I look back. And it doesn't matter if it's one of JJ's quads, one of my quads, some other person I'm doing a build for. When you first get that thing done and you step away, and it's just, this thing is amazing. You fire it up for the first time, and either it's going to tell you, I'm going to be good, I'm going to behave, or it's going to tell you, I'm going to be that bucking bronco. It's going to be a pain in your ass the entire time. And I always like to go with the good behavior, just because it seems like, obviously, that one that's going to be a pain is always going to be a pain. It's obviously, it's going to keep you on your toes. It's going to keep you young, but sometimes you just want to step away and light that gas tank on fire.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So, and the other thing with my YFZ2, Leonard, I should also point out is, that thing has been rebuilt many times. That ATV is what I was riding when I met my now wife, Courtney. It's also what I used to propose to her. I had custom decals made for my tank sides that said, "Will you marry me?" I set up a fake, which ended up being a real photo shoot. That was, a family shoot with us in the four-wheeler. And little did she know that through one of the pictures, I turned the four-wheeler around, and she was told to turn around, and I was on my knee.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I know we hashed that back and forth a couple different times, and it's a very special time and a very special memory. And I didn't have anything that cool when I asked my wife to marry her.
I had it all planned out, and I don't know how she didn't find out, but she somehow did not find out.
Well, even if she did know, she was kind enough not to let you know she knew.
Right. Well, she still claims this day she had no idea.
Well, I mean, that's what our wives are supposed to do, is protect us from things like that.
That's true. That's true. So
I got down on one knee. We were at a Sizzler, and I got down on one knee and asked my wife to marry her, and asked her father. Granted, we're 50 years old. Really, you don't have to ask Dad at that point. But I took the initiative and asked her father if I could have her hand, and he was extremely thankful and excited about that. That I even cared to acknowledge him, and I think that as a dad, that you'll know if you ever have a daughter that man,
that's the plan.
Yeah, it's just big. I mean, it's really big.
Yeah, and that was one. Yeah, Oh, that was one big thing that I try to make sure too is, I asked Courtney's father before I asked, and it worked out perfect because when I'm visiting Courtney, which obviously I'm gone a lot, so when I am visiting her, she's always with me. But I found a time where I had to take one of JJ's quads to Mark Baldwin's last year to get dyno tuned, and he came with me, and this is the perfect opportunity. So I asked him in the truck when we were driving, and I also asked Colton, who's our son, which actually, Courtney's son, but he's ours. I wanted to make sure he was okay with everything because obviously I'm a guy he had only known for a few years at that time. I didn't want to intrude, and you know, if he wasn't okay with it, I wasn't going to go through with it. But luckily he said yes, and he seemed very happy about it. And here we are.
And you got him to keep a secret?
I got him to keep a secret. And I told him it's actually on video on TikTok, Leonard, because I had our family and friends, and this is how she's really surprised she didn't find out. Our family and friends, I did like a TikTok countdown video where everybody kind of said like, oh, in so many days you're going to be engaged. And at the end of that video, I posted I got on video of me asking him, and I told him in the video, I said, this is the one time I'm going to tell you to keep a secret from your mother. Otherwise we try to keep everything open, no secrets from anybody. And he kept that one secret. So he can open his mouth all he wants for the rest of forever.
Right. That's freaking Leon did this. Leon did that.
Yeah, right. So far, so good. But usually if I do something, I have to tell her I was a dumbass today or something.
Well, that's how we keep our wives, by making sure that we tell them when we do stupid things.
Right. If I tell you if I tell you when I do the stupid stuff, you're not going to suspect that I'm doing something else. I'm going to tell you.
Exactly. When I come in shaking my head, you're already going to know I was dumb that day.
Exactly. Yeah. And she reads me like a book anyways. I could walk in with anything and she knows exactly how I feel, and she knows right away what happened. Well,
you bought another ATV. What?
Well, she's been pretty cool with that so far. Right. She knows that I'm building one for her. So
yeah, you don't want to. Yeah. You don't want to push that envelope there too much. As much as we all love ATVs, you can't own too many.
Right.
Well, you can never own too many, but your wife may think you can own too many.
As long as you have a place to put it, I think it's okay.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree with that. One of the things that we haven't talked about is, where do you want your ATV career to take you?
So, and that's always been something I have thought about. Even years and years ago when I was earlier in the power sports industry. And I mean, I'm not going to lie, when you get into this, a lot of times you're going to struggle. And I struggled for years as, just being a parts specialist, paying student loans because I paid all this money for motorcycle mechanic school, paying a lot of money in loan payments, making not much money. And it's like, what am I doing? I could be doing this and I could be doing this. But then it got to a certain point where it's like, I've put so much time into my career in this industry. And especially once my name started getting out there a little bit, I'm like, I can't leave this behind. And I don't think I could ever leave the power sports industry. So I would love to at some points have my own team. It's something that I've always wanted to do is, obviously I want to be part of a race team. I'm now managing a race team, but in the back of my head, it's like, I would always love to have my name on something, something that is mine, whether it be owning my own team or having my own shop that is able to have a team as well, fairly like what your family has done, is kind of I think that would be where I sit back and finally realize, okay, I'm comfortable. I think that I am now successful. I've got a lot of people that have contacted me from, friends from back home that are like, you'd never guess. I went somewhere and this person knew who you were. I didn't even know who they were, but I said that I was from this area, and they said that they knew somebody that's in the racing industry that's from there. It was so cool, from that to just people knowing who I am. It's like, yeah, that's awesome and all, but I'm never satisfied with it. Like I feel like that I could continue to grow and do more. And it's just kind of that appetite that never goes away. I've got that hunger that I'm never fulfilled.
Never goes away, bud. Just so you know.
Exactly. I bet it doesn't.
Well, it's just let's relate it to your racing. So
Mm-hmm.
when you're on the line or you're in the staging,
Mm-hmm.
there is a total difference between standing next to the racer or being.
Mm-hmm. For me nowadays, there isn't. The biggest difference is that, okay, I know I'm either going to be watching the guy that I'm always proud of, or it's okay, I'm the guy that's actually out here. I mean, I don't take nowadays, because the racing aspect of it is my career. So I haven't gone out and given 70% in probably 4 years. It's always this, I'm out here, I'm having a blast right now because I'm having seat time, but I haven't taken my own racing seriously in a couple of years. Yeah, I look and hey, I'm sitting right here in points right now. That's awesome, but I'm not going to push it. I had a really dumb mistake that happened last year at Briarcliff, and I ended up in the hospital. And that's the worst part. It's like I wasn't actually pushing and went over the edge. I just happened to hit something, and I ran out of talent and I overcooked rotating a bike in the air. Came down hard, ejected me. I'm in the hospital.
Right.
So I think honestly, a lot of it, yeah, I love riding and I love being out there on the track. But I think right now, me watching JJ and being proud of him and what he is accomplishing and what he has accomplished since we've been a team, I'm almost more excited for that nowadays. Because, I've stood beside him as he's taken 3 250 championships. I stood behind him as he took 2 450 championships. I'm hoping I can stand beside him as he takes a pro sport, pro-am, and eventually pro championship.
And that's a very special thing to do with a rider, knowing that none of it lasts forever.
Right.
There'll be another rider after JJ at some point,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe another one or another one after that. And
Mm-hmm.
What I was going with the future portion of it is
Mm-hmm.
knowing that the industry is always tough.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You're
And
seeing
that's one other thing too with the industry is, I've put myself in a good enough foothold that if for some reason the racing aspect of it, say JJ says he's done tomorrow, yeah, I'm honestly gonna be heartbroken, really. But I know in the back of my mind that I can pick myself up. And I've done enough things within the industry. I was a brand ambassador for Fly Racing for a while, where I traveled parts of the country for Fly Racing to go sell snowmobile apparel. I don't ride snowmobiles, but I know enough about riding gear and enough about things in our industry that I was traveling the country for them and selling their gear to random snowmobilers. So I've got contacts within the industry that if racing were to never work out, I could probably do something and use my sales skills for something else.
So you could sell cars or ice cream to
If I
Eskimos.
needed to, I could probably sell cars. I may not be the best car salesman because I'm pretty honest with people, but I could probably get you to buy a vehicle at the same time.
Not
But
me. But I understand
but
exactly
it falls back down to the fact that I don't see myself ever leaving the power sports industry. I always see myself doing something within.
That's good. I mean, that's good. And if you're focused on it and set yourself up right and take care of yourself financially, by always putting money away and taking care of a retirement for yourself, I sent you a message. So just so you know.
Okay.
That's what I was doing when I was looking away. Something you said in the conversation, I needed to ask you about it anyways, but you reminded me.
Yeah.
As long as you take care of yourself, unlike some people that I know in the industry that's been in it their whole life that didn't take care of themselves, make sure you do that. And it's
yeah,
really,
for sure.
really important.
Definitely. Definitely.
Children now, or a child now, probably going to be children at some point. So you want to make sure that you have a place for them and that you've taken care of it,
Definitely.
Yep. Are you still, I believe you said that earlier in the episode, that you're still traveling a lot back and forth, Wisconsin and Ohio.
Yep. Correct. Yeah, I mean, Courtney and I we're still house hunting. And it's not so much we're picky. And I know you shouldn't really be picky for your first home, but especially with my hobbies, we're picky. Because I need a place to have multiple vehicles. I need a place to have a fifth wheel camper, many four-wheelers, and we need to have a place that, because we are planning to expand our family. So it's not like we're just a newlywed couple that it's just us and we got nothing going on. Like we're both in our early 30s. We've got our lives, we've got stuff. So we've got what we want, and we're not really ready to settle for something less.
Right. I think you got a good gal there, and I think you guys are working together and you're talking about your goals. I mean, that's not what we're supposed to. We're not supposed to be having marriage counseling on the ATV-TALK show, but it's good that you take care of yourself and move forward, to make sure that the sport needs to take care of you. So you need to take care of yourself so that you can be there for the sport later, because there are rough patches. I've been doing this for a long time, and there's times it's been really awesome, and there's times that it's just like, a dry desert, and you just take it as it is. Do I think I'll go back out in your world and try to be a mechanic and travel again? I might travel for the podcast or for the media part, but I do not think that I'm going to be able to manage the physical portion of that. I still think I'm in better shape than some of the guys that go to the starting line, even though I may not look. But to be a professional mechanic at the level that I think that it takes to be that guy, to build the machine, to take care of it on the weekends, to live it, I don't think I have that anymore.
Right. No, it takes a lot of your time, more than what people think. I'm in the shop right now. I was 11 hours on the road before we got on today, trying to take care of making sure JJ's ready. I had to take a bike and get it dyno tuned. So I was driving all day, get back here, helping JJ and Max. They're here at the shop riding, helping them out with some bike stuff so they could keep practicing. And then I hopped on here so we could talk. So and that's obviously today it's what I just said. That's a small day.
And I don't doubt that at all, because I mean, I've been there, man. Work your normal job. You get there at 6 something in the morning, and you work until the boss lets you stop working. He knows that you got to work on that race bike, but this customer needs their machine too. So
right. And I have to say, this is probably one of the best. The Launderville family they're some of the best people I've been able to work with. I can't say I've had a bad rider, or I've ever been in a bad mechanic rider relationship, but for being, before I was a Root River mechanic, and I had my rider on Root River. So I was working for Rich Gillette, and he just knew, he's like, as long as the race bikes are done, I don't care what you do. So, there would be times where I'd be hanging out at the shop, just hanging out with Rich, hanging out with, at time when later in that career, hanging out with Rich's son, Alex, weren't really doing too much. Race bikes were done, loaded. I didn't have much else to do. But I also, at that in 2019, my rider was Aaron Salinas. He lived in Texas. I'm not in Texas to help him out. I'm in Wisconsin working on his 2 race bikes. They're good to go. I'm going through the trailer, but I'd be at the shop from 7:00 in the morning until 10:00 at night, getting all my stuff done in a few days. So, it's not like I would just spend 3 hours. Oh, I'm done. I'm going to hang out and do whatever. But here, working for the Laundervilles, it's the first deal where, I'm at the facility where we've got everything. Jaden is here. Jeremy is here. I'm here. Granted, most of the day we're in 3 separate parts of the property, essentially. But Jeremy knows that I know what I need to do. He knows that I want this for JJ just as much as JJ and he want this. So I don't get bothered down here, really. We come down here, we'll gather as a group just to just talk about things, but it's never, I don't have a to-do list of you need to get the race bikes done. I know I need to get the race bikes done. I know what I need to do so that, like this week, we're about to roll out to Briarcliff. I know what I need to do. So Wednesday afternoon, we can all hit the road and know that we've got everything. Everything's taken care of. And here I've got JJ's practice bikes that I maintain. We've got, some other, actually kind of behind me is his cross country bike that he likes to hit trees with. There's a lot of stuff that I take care of here, and we just have a really good relationship, and they know and they trust that I'm going to get everything done here. And then when it comes to the 4130 team as a whole, obviously I'm here to take care of everything that I possibly can, because I want this to continue. So I'm going to do things to try to, whether it's relationships with people or companies or whatever.
Well, that's your job, is to call all those sponsors and to work all that stuff. And, I never got to work solely as a race mechanic. I've never had that opportunity. I've always had the job, and then it was the second job, or sometimes the third job. You're prepping the bike, you're getting the trailer loaded, and on Friday night, or Thursday night, when the boss says you can leave, you leave. If you got all your work done at 4, you got to go at 4. If you didn't get your work done till 6, you didn't get to go till 6. And it was always rougher to do it that way, but that's just the scenario that I was in. So I'm a little jealous of the guys like you that have gotten to do it for a living. I mean, it's
right.
I don't know what it's like to roll in on Monday after a race and pull the bike out, wash and prep, and instantly go into the prep deal, because maybe by 7 or 8 o'clock on Monday, one of my machines would be ready to go to the races.
Right.
So I'm jealous of that. Instead of taking the full 8 or 9 days to get it done, because you only get X amount of time to work on it.
Right.
You know.
Right. And I mean, I once we get back from a race weekend, instantly it's let's get these bikes washed, especially, some of these muddy races. It'll take me 2, 3 times of washing the bike before it's actually clean enough to my standard. But, it's hurry up, let's get these things done. And I spend anywhere from 10 to 16 hours plus a day working on JJ's stuff. And it's as soon as one's done and it's all ready to go, push it off the lift, get it ready to go, bring the next one up. When it's done, it's kind of, okay, what else do I need to do to make sure the trailer is ready and loaded? All the bikes are strapped down. What chemicals did I use up? What parts did I use that I need to replenish? Let's get the trailer restocked, get the bike strapped in, get the side-by-side in, whatever else that we need, make sure your trailer's ready to go. Okay. What other projects do we have around here? How's JJ's practice bikes looking? I've got some restoration projects that I'm doing here for Jeremy. I've got, like I said, there's a woods bike here. We've got a lot of different projects that we're working on at the 4130 shop.
That's awesome. And you do get a little bit of Max in there every once in a while too.
Every once in a while, mainly it's just 3-hour-long phone calls, but every once in a while he pops in and needs something, whether it's a little bit of help or some parts or just a talk. I might just be his emotional support. I don't know.
Are you giving him that counseling session for free, or you haven't even swiped the credit card?
He'll be paying for it sooner or later.
Yeah, we all need counseling once in a while, right?
Well, that was the biggest thing that I never realized becoming a race mechanic, is I never thought that when this is all said and done, that I would essentially be a psychiatrist.
And a nurse.
And a nurse, yep.
And a maid.
And yeah, I mean, a butler. I mean, I've done everything from ordering meals for JJ, because they don't understand what he's trying to order, and all he wants is a bun patty bun. That's it. Bring it out. Some French fries, maybe a piece of Swiss cheese if he's feeling real adventurous. But I've done that. I've had to peel his stinky ass boots off because he rolled an ankle and can't walk. I mean, you don't realize, anybody that's never done this before, you don't realize just how close a relationship you are with your rider. And it's not a relationship that ends at the end of that racing career. It's a lifelong relationship. Like yourself and Doug. You listen to the podcast episodes, you listen to when you guys are live together, you can see that connection.
Well, he fell off in Redbud. When you spend 4 or 5 hours in the emergency room, waiting room, just waiting for them to, because you're not family, you can't have any information. They've been doing it long enough with the racers. They understand that I'm his family because I am the mechanic. I'm the guy that's going to nursemaid him. I'm the one that's going to help him get dressed. I'm the one that's going to do all these things. And because we don't have a wife, a girlfriend, or a whatever, or anybody else. It's just us two.
Right.
He can't even put his own pants on,
Right.
And many people don't understand the self-sacrifice that goes through to be a race mechanic. You're selfless. Right.
And whoever you are with, they become family.
Yep.
I still remember, I just got the chills from it thinking about it. I still remember when JJ messed up his arm in 2021. I was actually on a mini vacation with Courtney, and we were in Indiana, just having a weekend little getaway. and I got a phone call from Jeremy that, JJ crashed, something's up with his arm. We're going to the hospital right now. And my heart sank. I got off the phone, and Courtney, could see in my face, I was in tears. It crushed the weekend mood for the most part. And obviously I have an amazing wife, and she was able to really comfort me and just be there so that I would feel better. But that was like hearing that your little brother is going to the hospital.
Right.
You don't know what's going on. You're not going to know what's going on because you're not there. Even if you are there, you're not going to know what's going on. So it was just kind of sitting there waiting for updates. And then, obviously we took most of a season out, and obviously I was here every day. He was here every day. We would hang out, we would chat and everything else. And, I watched him progress and get better. And luckily I could do that because, I mean, you look at him now and you wouldn't tell that he completely jacked up his arm.
Right. And that's our role. That's, it's kind of like you're a husband, right? So depending on how you believe in those theories, you have a role, you have a job, and it's not a job because you love that woman and you love your kids,
right,
and you're the shield, and you're the caregiver, you're the catch-all. I listened to a guy say one time that it's not the quality of my life is not what we're worried about here. It's the quality of your life is what we're worried about. I'm not going to talk about me. We're not going to worry about me. We're going to worry about you. We're going to make sure that you and the children have what you need to do the things that you want to do. And that is my job. That is what I'm facilitating. And that's what I'm taking care of. So you have that same role as a race mechanic. You are doing everything that you have to do. Blood, sweat, tears, lack of sleep, whatever it is, for that individual to roll to the starting line and do what he does on an ATV or what she does on an ATV. You watch your machine go through the whoops or win a race or, clear the big triple, and you're just like, I built that machine. Wow.
Exactly. All the time.
I didn't think he could do that. Wow.
Right.
And you're just in awe of this individual that rides a machine, that you've poured your whole life into, your whole essence into it. And, I know that there's going to be people that listen to this that understand that. And then there's going to be a whole lot of people that think that we're on drugs.
Right. Exactly. Right. And yeah, I mean, it's like I said earlier in the episode, these four-wheelers, I've got emotional attachment to, they become closer than just the four-wheelers that JJ beats the living crap out of. They are in a way my little babies that I take care of. And unfortunately for them, they got to come see me, the doctor, after every time he touches it. But I'm going to make sure that everything is all fixed. Everything is in perfect condition. So the next time he puts his leg over it, it's good to go.
Exactly. And I just don't think that people realize how much it means to us. The movie that really turned the light on for me.
What's that?
Days of Thunder.
Yeah.
Because I was watching that scene going, I've been there. I've done that.
Right.
I do that.
Right. And I mean, there's that video or that movie, I find a lot more relation to that because I've joked to people before that my rider is a cold trickle. He can't tell you anything that's going on with this bike. So it's just, I've had to adapt to either whatever he is saying, I can adapt. I figured out what he's actually trying to say, or I can hear it or see it and kind of figure out, okay, this is happening, or I can hear it. And like last year at Redbud, he lost a second injector halfway through a moto. So he didn't know what was going on, and he forgot that there was a switch that he could flip that would switch the map and turn that injector off, and then everything would have been fine. But he came back and he was obviously upset. The emotions were high with him. So he kind of just, the typical customer comes in with a verbal, they're verbally making the noise that the bike was doing. And I walked over and I figured it out in like 3 minutes, because I just kind of figured out, all right, it wasn't doing this. It wasn't doing this. It was doing this. I got to be looking somewhere fuel related. Found a bad second injector, popped it out, put a new one in. Everything was all good to go. He went out and kicked some butt.
Right.
But it's just like I said, I mean, it's like having a brother out there. It's not just the guy that you were working with. There's days where I'm very proud of him, and there's days where I want to smack him up the side of the back of the head. It's
that the deal where he goes out and wins a race, and it's him, and he thanks you. And what makes the relationship really great is on the days when the bike's not right, and he does everything he can do, and the bike's not right, and he doesn't come back and yell at you. He comes back and goes, "Hey, we'll get him next time." I understand that it can't always be perfect. I understand that it's not always going to be right, or you didn't intentionally mean for this to happen or that to happen. And, I think Doug and I got in one argument one time. A countershaft sprocket fell off. He'd been riding for 55 minutes.
Right.
What are the odds?
Right. That's crazy.
Unfortunately, it fell off right in front of right at the finish line.
Oh boy.
Wedged a little bit, so he had to work it to get it apart. Once he got it out, unfortunately, he's 15 feet from the finish line pushing it, and the other guy crossed the line and he gets second place. But I understood the frustration. I understood why he was angry.
Right.
I just didn't think that I needed to change anything that I do. I needed to look at what I was doing, but something got missed in that somehow.
Right. Yeah. And it's just, I don't think a lot of people also understand that when something like that happens, I may be trying to put on a calm, collected face, but I'm beating myself up just as much, especially once you figure out what happened. It's just if you could hear the conversations I'm having with myself, you would be leaving the room, but I can't be the guy, if JJ's emotions are high or Jeremy's emotions are high, I can't walk in with these high emotions too. I have to walk in and try to get people to calm down and try to make it seem like everything will be okay. I may not be okay at all, but as long as you think things are okay, then we can move on with the day and I can sort myself out as I'm fixing that bike.
And that's what we do is our personal feelings and how we're dealing with it doesn't matter. Never matters. We have to freaking take care of our task at hand, make sure that bike is good, make sure our rider's good, make sure that, everything we're supposed to do is handled. You can deal with your demons when you're alone, when nobody's around,
Right.
So I'm never alone because my demons are always with me.
Right.
I mean, I seen that on a shirt not too long ago and I laughed because it's so true.
Yeah.
If everybody knew what was going on inside of your head, would you be free to walk around the planet?
Probably not. No, not at all.
Yeah. I mean, so
right.
Good thing.
I mean, I have a tendency of releasing some of those thoughts in my head, and people either think it's very hilarious or they're like, there's something wrong with you, dude. It goes both ways.
I got that t-shirt, brother. Oh,
right.
Leon, as always, man, you and I could probably talk till next year sometime. Constantly, as always. I appreciate you taking the time with me. I know you have other things that you could be doing. You probably missed out on dinner tonight, and you're probably tired.
Sleep when I'm dead, I suppose.
You're always welcome on ATV-TALK, always.
I appreciate it.
The team here at ATV-TALK would love your feedback. Please email us at hello@atvtalkpodcast.com. If you're in need of a consultation for your current racing program, a custom ATV, or an industry guest speaker, I have the company for you. Duncan Technologies International Inc. offers host, MC, and guest speaking services at events, builds custom ATVs for recreational riding or racing around the world, and they offer consulting services for professional teams or individual racers. Send inquiries to duncantechinternational@gmail.com or call 619-716-1532 for more information. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, don't forget to share us with your family and friends. The podcast is available on all streaming platforms, and you can find us on social media as ATV-TALK Podcast. We're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Rumble, and Twitter.